Welcome to the Ghost Rider channel. Welcome back, guys. Hello, I want to talk to you about the future of petrol engine motorcycles today. So, are petrol motorcycles dying out? And let's discuss my thoughts on the common theory that electric motorcycles are the future. First, let's acknowledge that burning fossil fuels is contributing to global warming. And clearly that's a bad thing, right? We've got that. Manufacturers have always made vehicles with two or more wheels with the intention of knowing what the population want or thinking they know what the population need, like following a trend. For example, the Honda Civic created in 1972, which was released 1 year later, I believe, in America. During this time, Chevy and Ford were thick into their horsepower wrestling match. But what else happened in 1970? The oil and energy crisis. Meaning, of course, oil-based products became expensive. A lot of people don't understand why oil prices affected petrol. So here's a brief simplified explanation. Oil, petrol, diesel, jet fuel all start off as crude oil, right? So we know that. The crude oil is then processed at a refinery such as Valera, which is local to me. So crude oil gets distilled. Crude oil is basically a mixture of many different hydrocarbons. Crude oil gets pumped from a storage container or whatever into a tower, or is it? No, it's a column, isn't it? I call it a tower, I think they call it a column. It doesn't matter. Inside the column is 50 or so trays that catch certain hydrocarbons. There's thousands of hydrocarbons, so to make it easier, we separate thousands of hydrocarbons into 5 or 6 fractions. I can't remember whether it was 5 or 6. And they're called boiling fractions. So long story short, the crude oil gets pumped into the bottom of the tray, or the bottom tray, which can be under vacuum or not under vacuum. They like to sometimes to lower boiling points. That doesn't matter. So the crude oil heats up, and the vapor of the, for example, the petroleum bubbles, it bubbles up through a tube into the next tray. This repeats 50 or so times until all the hydrocarbons settle into the correct trays. The trays at the top, called fraction 1, contain refinery gas. I don't really know anything about it. But in fraction 2 is gasoline, petrol. And fraction 4 is diesel, I believe. Maybe it's 5. No, I think it's 4. Again, so long story short, it's a lot of work, and expensive work at that, to separate petrol from diesel and to separate it all from crude oil. Oh, I could take a breath. So you can now see why the oil crisis meant even more expensive petrol, which does bring us back to the Honda Civic of 1973. I think it was 73. And the pony war between Ford and Chevy. So I told you we'd get back to this. Manufacturers, I can't say that word, manufacturers seen that the population would become more conscious about the fuel prices and the damage to the environment. And with the oil crisis came more save the planet protests. Honda took full advantage of this worried America and sold their super fuel efficient Honda Civic, which had a new 12-valve 1.5 litre engine. 1.5 litre engine, I think it was, and it produced like 75 or 76 horsepower. Or for the proper committed climate change warriors, it definitely come with a more efficient 1.3 litre petrol. I think it was a petrol, maybe it was diesel. Anyway, it come with a 1.3 litre that produced, I think it was 60 horsepower, so even way less than what my bike produces. Oh, what a tangent. What's important from that rubbish that I just spieled off is that manufacturers, even back then, were creating trends based on what they think people would want in the next sort of 10 years. Let's get back onto motorcycles, shall we? So, if you haven't seen already, Zero, the manufacturer, have made serious ground with releasing fully electric motorcycles. There's a link in the description, or there will be anyway, to Do It With Dan riding the Zero SR a few years ago. So Zero are attempting to be the Tesla of the motorcycle world. They're nowhere near, but they're on their way. Their bikes are good looking, I mean, in my opinion, of course. They're quicker than any petrol bike for the same price, and of course, they're pushing the climate change agenda. So I'll put a link in as well. I know this is a bit more work, but I'll put a link in the description once I get home and edit this. I think 650 IB or 650 pound, whoever it was, he raced the Zero SR on his Kawasaki Ninja H2, and the Zero SR was smoking him off the line. Of course, with all petrol engines, they end up, or electric engines I should say, They end up getting smoked once you get, into third, fourth, and you start pulling. But by the time you're doing 150, is it worth being faster from 150 onwards? So, with the success that come from Tesla, it caused the cogs to start moving in the car and bike manufacturers' heads. Honda have released a statement that by the year 2023, which is crazy, it's only 3 years away, it's 2 years away, because they're saying by 2023, they will not produce a single ICE, internal combustion engine. This isn't clear if it's only cars, but I have to assume that bikes won't be far behind. And what's even more scary to us petrol heads is the government have also put in a genuine plan to ban all ICE, again internal combustion engine vehicles, by the year 2040. So does that mean by 2041 you'll never hear a Ninja H2 supercharger flutter on a public road? Me? I don't know so much. What I mean by that is this pandemic has made me think a lot. For example, some people are working from home successfully and they have zero issues. So they're actually doing a lot better by working at home. Some of them do more work, they earn more money anyway. Once this is over, why are they then going to return to their offices if they don't need to? And I didn't think of this, I seen this as a status on Facebook, and it made me think, wow, you're absolutely right. Think of how many less cars would be on the road wasting fossil fuels to drive somewhere to do work they could easily do at home, and they could be way more comfortable at home doing so. You could do chores while you're taking a break from work. Surely we're not going to go back to how it was once this is over. Surely a lot of people are just going to continue to work from home. And hopefully employers will allow people to do that, because what's more important than this pandemic? This is a pandemic, it's a sort of quick, scary thing. But the long-term effects of global warming, I've never really been big for it. And I'll be honest, I'm not really that big for it now. But I do acknowledge that, yeah, alright, we need to start, packing it in. Maybe it's a bit late. Oh, spit it out. Right, try again. If it is true that the government plan on banning all internal combustion engines by 2040, yes, we got there, then the roads are going to be very quiet, which is positive mostly, apart from people walking out onto the roads because they don't hear an engine. And let's go back to the oil industry. So millions of people that get paid very well, their work is oil-based. What are they going to do for work? And I know people are going to say, well, that's 20 years down the line. People need to stop going into the oil industry and starting work there. But what about the day before 2040? Does that mean, at what point is there a cut-off? I know this is something we're going to have to work out in future. But like I said, what about the millions of people that work with things to do with oil, They work in these plants and stuff. What are they going to do? Because they're not all going to die by 2040. Because if they do, someone has to take their place. Also, will this cause oil distillation to become a waste of money? So only creating oil for maintenance, because you're not going to create any for petrol or diesel, it's just going to be like fraction 5, which I think is like maintenance oil, so stuff you put in your chain, gearbox and all that. Valero probably won't survive from losing petrol and diesel sales. I have so many questions and zero answers. I buy a BMW 330 over the 320 because the bigger engine. All electric cars are somewhat fast, so what do petrol heads men are do instead? Crack cocaine? Formula E is cool, but I couldn't deal with that being my only option. I don't know if I could deal with never hearing a Formula 1 car screaming around a track. I know that there's a lot of positives to, global warming for one, pollution the other. I know they're the same sort of thing, but we'll have sort of cleaner air, cleaner streets. But at the same time, they better hope that by 2040, they can produce electric cars, because they say producing one electric car, by making it and manufacturing it, uses the same amount of energy as driving one car for the rest of a car's life. And I know that everything's going to be improved, like internal combustion engines have been over time, they've been improved, and we can now get 5,000 horsepower out of a racing car and crazy stuff, but I don't know. I'm starting to feel a bit sad thinking that I'll never hear the Panigale V4, Oh, I don't know. The thing is, the noise of engines. If we go back to like sort of campfires and bashing each other on the heads with sticks because we're cavemen, when we create engines that sound like a V10, I tell you what, like an LFA, Lexus LFA, that noise makes people like me so happy. Yes, I like going fast and I like lots of torque and popping up on the back wheel, but my favourite thing about riding is the backfire that comes off the bike, the noise that comes off it. It makes you feel good. I don't know, what are people going to take up instead of these hooks, you know? Like, people have chemical hooks to alcohol and drugs, whereas a lot of petrol heads like us and you guys that are watching, what are our hooks going to be? What are our hobbies going to be? We can't work on an engine, it's just an electric motor. So it leaves a lot of things to be answered. It'll be interesting in 2040 to go back and review this video. So yeah, I'll definitely do that. So look out, in 20 years Ghost Rider's going to be what? Nearly 50 by then. That's crazy. Yeah, let's not drag this out any longer. If you guys have any thoughts, any questions or any answers, of course you can't have a definite answer, but if you have anything that you feel is interesting to bring to this conversation, please go ahead. I mean, I've just rambled on. I probably haven't said anything off context yet, so yeah, guys, I've been Ghost Rider. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out my socials which are down in the description, and check out that 0SR. It is ridiculously fast and it's years old as well. Guys, I've been Ghost. Have a great day, have a great night, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.